6:03, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Just like to say thanks for all the new people out there. We love when we have new faces. We're going to start, we don't have any appointments scheduled, so we'll start with Town Administrator Report. Heather's been on vacation, so we'll see what she's
Welcome back.
Alright, so just a couple things. Last week we launched our new website. For anyone at home who's listening or anyone out there who doesn't know, our new website is www.townofsouthampton.org. They actually did a little press release last week in the Gazette. If they did one on Mass Live, I'm not aware of it yet because I'm just catching up on my email and other media at this point. But the news release was pretty nice. As we had been talking about for the past couple weeks, our website was actually minimal cost. So it cost us less than $500 a year to maintain it, which is pretty good. That includes everything from hosting the website to having our email on the website, to having backup, security, and everything else, which is pretty nice. We actually were able to have, it's a WordPress-based website. We had a volunteer help us put it together. We had found several months ago, I had come across Berlin, Mass's website. I liked it a lot, so I called their clerk, and I begged her to stop chatting with me, and she did. She was very nice. She actually provided me with the information of the guy who did all of their IT stuff for their website in his volunteer time, and he walked us through how to do ours. So ours looks very similar to theirs. It's got some unique pieces to it and some differences, and it will evolve over time, but I thought it was a good start. We went with the principle of less is more. We want folks to be able to find the information they were looking for. So now you have some basic information on the front page, you have your calendar, you also have all your contact information for all the major departments. You have your news feed from Facebook, so anything we post goes right there. You have any alerts, any new information. Fee schedules are currently up there. At the top you have what's called a boom bar, which actually is any major alert, anything that's really happening that's important right now, one thing at a time. So right now we have the special town meeting for next week is announced on there, and you can click on it and get the warrant. Last week when it was really, really cold, they were sending out lots of MEMA alerts, so we made sure we posted that. We wanted to make sure the residents knew if they had gone to the website that that was a concern we had, and they could click there for more information. The rest of the website is set up in interesting fashion. We have everything, drop-down menus and the like, or you can use the search bar, which again is a new feature we did not have on the old website, so we're very pleased and very happy about it, because if you have no idea where to look for something, but you know one word, you can start there. We're still working on tying some things in. We got some great feedback from some of the other departments last week. One department said, you know, we're kind of listed out twice because we have elected officials and appointed officials. You know, is there any way we can have both of those links there, but just bringing it back to the same page? So we're working on taking into that feedback and putting it into effect. Right now we currently have just one webmaster who is our volunteer who made this. Is a great person behind it, responsible for making this happen, which is Art Lawrence. Other folks who were involved in making the website happen included VJ Dalal. I had to think of his last name for a second. And also John Fitzpatrick, who is a former webmaster who is more than happy to step out of this whole piece. If folks still accidentally go to the old website, no problem, it automatically launches them on the new website. And again, the nice thing about the new website, it's much shorter, townofsouthampton.org. And I'm happy to say when I Googled it down in Florida, I had no problem getting to our new website as the top thing. The next update we have is Code Red. When we sent out the census this year, when the clerk's office sent them out rather, we included a handout. Handout had two pieces on it. One piece was if folks wanted to sign up for our Code Red Reverse 911 program, and the other one was for volunteer opportunities. On the Code Red Reverse 911 program, we've actually got a lot of responses back on that. We've got some emails and some frustrations because folks are trying to click on the website to sign up for it. It's not ready yet. You were one of those? Unfortunately, it's not up and running yet. We did mention, I think, on the mailing, we said sometime between now and the end of January. We We were hoping sooner rather than later, but we got a little tied up with training, getting everyone coordinated. But we will be trained on it by Friday, so hopefully in the next, we'll say 7 to 10 days, we should have something up and running. Mostly it's just us being trained to use it, so we use it appropriately and correctly before we post it on the website for everyone to sign up on. So once that's done, you will see something there. You'll also probably see a couple press releases go out, and they should be covering something on that front as well. Some other updates for you. As we talked about, we actually did put out the pieces. I would love to give credit. I want to say it was Hank Barton who suggested it from the Master Plan Implementation Committee to suggest putting a flyer with all the openings from different boards, committees, and commissions. We already got a hit this morning on that. We might have more, I don't know. I haven't gone through my email that far. I've only got through about 17, and I've got about 200 to go. So we'll see how that goes. But it seemed to be getting the word out, so that's great. Some other updates. Next week is the special town meeting on Tuesday. It's at 7 p.m. at the Norris School. Last week, Robert Floyd, the town moderator, actually had an information session on Thursday night. From what I understand, there was some folks who attended and it went okay. I haven't got any more detailed information than that at this point. Some other things going on. So we're in the middle of budget season right now. We're going to be in budget season until we get to the annual town meeting in May at this point. We had our first finance team meeting last week. Finance team, as we discussed before, this year after recommendations from the Department of Revenue now consists of myself, the treasurer, which is Donna Whiteley, the accountant, which is Vicki Morrow, the someone from the assessor's office, who's now Shannon, and then we also have someone from the finance team, and that can be a rotating person. So last week we had Sharon Wojcik, and we also have someone from the school business administration department, and last week it was actually the superintendent himself, Craig Jurgensen, who attended. So that was nice. We chatted probably about an hour or so. We went over some basic things, where we were with the school budgets, what we were looking at for projections, what we heard, if there was anything coming up, some things we thought would be helpful, some things we weren't sure about, and just playing around with some ideas that we thought would be useful going forward. We had our department head meeting last week. We have, as everyone knows at this point, we have a monthly department head meetings, usually the first Thursday of the month, but because the first Thursday this time was New Year's, it was a week later. Department head meeting was full attendance, which is always nice to see. We got to meet the new water superintendent as well, so that was a pleasure. Some folks at this point have handed in their budgets. We're waiting on a few more, but we had some more discussions about what we're looking for, where we're going. We got to hear frustrations from some of the departments, and I can understand, you know, if you're looking to put together two different budgets, a level funded and a -2% from 5% from last year, it gets very frustrating. And there's a lot of work to go into any budget. I have some numerous line items myself that I have to sit down with, and I've sat down with other department heads to go over their own budgets. So I can understand that. We're trying to work with everyone's frustrations and move forward. Let's see what else is happening. So we have the auditors, as requested by the Board of Selectmen. They wanted them to come in earlier this year. Last year, I think it was like sometime in March or April that they started coming in. This year, they're coming in tomorrow. So we are working on getting that done much earlier than before. Other things that are happening, the Board of Selectmen room, as we've been talking about for the past couple of months, we are working on giving this a little bit of an uplift. We have PEG access funds, which is public education, help me, Paul. Government, thanks. Public education government funds that we get when we had signed our contract initially with the cable provider. And my understanding is they do not like giving you more money if you have a lot of money left in your funds. So we try to make sure we use what we have so we don't lose it, and so we can end up actually asking for more someday. We want to make good investment of the money and use it wisely. One thing we'd like to do is we've heard lots of complaints lately from folks that they can't hear us at home or being televised. So what we've talked about, we've done lots of research on this, is we actually want to put I believe it's a stereo system. Does that sound right, Paul? Of nature's?
We're putting in speakers, putting in microphones as well.
Okay. So speakers and microphones that will allow folks to both hear at home and also in the room itself. So if you're sitting in the back and someone happens to be a quiet speaker in the front like myself, you'll be able to easily hear what I'm saying in the back of the room without any trouble.
That was supposed to be funny, by the way.
Well,
Okay.
I think I was referencing when I have laryngitis or, you know, as I progressively continue with my sick patterns we're in here.
It's all relative.
Yes, exactly. The other thing we're working on is we'll be spinning the room a little bit. So instead of having the backdrop, the windows, and you'll get the glare during the summertime and the springtime, we're gonna have the back wall over there as the background, swing the tables around. We actually spent very little money on some material, had someone actually volunteer their time to sew up table skirts, which seems silly, but you know what? It makes it a little bit more professional. And someone actually volunteered to have the seal, town seal, put on some things. So, and we also had a podium, is it a podium? Podium donated for us with this town seal on it. So now we will officially, eventually, in the next couple weeks, be an official Board of Selectmen room with a little officialness going. Should be nice. We'll see how it looks. We're hoping to unveil it in 2 weeks is the goal. We have everything in time. If anyone has any questions on that, please let me know. I'm happy to answer. It's what I speak right now 24 hours a day. The last thing I have here is CBA meetings. As we talked about, collective bargaining is full underway at this point. We start meeting this week with the highway bargaining unit, and all we're starting with at this point is just talking about where we're at and what everyone's bringing to the table for negotiations. We haven't started with the police departments yet, but that's where we are.
Now, who's talking? Who's involved with the
We can
negotiations?
talk more in executive session
Okay.
on the details of that.
I would like to, yeah.
Thank you. And that's all I have on that's it. I do have a more detailed agenda for you from the online one, because I think when you were setting appointments, you had an abbreviated list.
Select board updates. Tomorrow night is the master plan implementation committee meeting. That's at 6:30. Thursday night is a school committee meeting at 6 o'clock. This was their December meeting that they rescheduled until January so that the Board of Selectmen liaison could be present and involved in the conversations. And I'd also just like to report that I spoke with the Boy Scouts last Monday night, which was lovely. And I was saying earlier to the audience before Mrs. Lunas got here that sometimes the boys have better questions than the parents, and they're a tough crowd. They did a great job. And I invited them to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance on some night and join us here and or at a town meeting. So that would be nice. And also I shared with the audience, I'm not sure you all heard that there was a few parents there who brought their neighbors to the information meeting held by Robert Floyd, who thought after the conversation they just wanted to know more, so they went to an additional meeting, which for me was validation of all the hard work we do here. So there you go. Did you have something to add, Tammy?
After having the Boy Scouts talk with you and ask you certain questions, I believe they're going to be coming to actually present something to you guys, to ask you about something.
Oh, great.
So, you may see them a couple of times here.
Great, that's awesome. I was just glad that the kids were interested and got something out of it. Anybody else? We have Charlie McDonald to talk about the Concom application, but he's not here yet. We can have open time for the public if anyone feels moved. The next item on the agenda is the approval of any remaining fee changes. The gas and plumbing and electrical fees we had approved at our previous meeting, increases and changes to some of them. What you have in front of you are some additional changes. However, Heather, do you know what specifically is on here that's different, or you don't know?
So there's some verbiage, essentially the basics. So Tom went through this again. He had a couple things he didn't think of before that needed to be added, and one thing that was our fault that we omitted. The thing we had omitted was confusing concept for us on the second piece. It's called underground, under gas. It's both under residential and commercial. Underground, above ground, LP piping, first stage to second stage, regulator and/or inside building. And under the residential, it's $60 and includes one inspection, and under commercial, it's $120 and includes 2 inspections. Now, if you want to know what that means, I'd call Tom, because we...
There are 2 different types of installations.
Okay. 2 types of installations, apparently. Unfortunately, this is why we had trouble writing it last time. We weren't sure what it meant. So that was one of the changes. The other change you have up top where it says plumbing, under new residential, for underground drainage, add $60. Under commercial, for underground drainage, add $120, includes 2 additional inspections and $15 each fixture. That was there before, I'm sorry. Then for underground drainage, add under the commercial piece again. Adds $240, includes 2 additional inspections. So that just has to do with the size of the actual commercial place that the addition is going.
Has
So-
Tom Quinlan looked at all of this?
Tom Quinlan has worked closely with Tom and with Jim. The other thing down here, I believe we had the with CSST before, under new residential and gas. I believe that was there, and I think, was there anything else that was changed, Kevin?
So it's just those and everything I got. So
Okay. So I think that was all that was changed on that one.
So, are there any other questions from the board regarding those changes?
Yeah, just what does CSST mean now?
I'm sorry?
CSST?
It has to do with the type of piping.
Corrugated stainless steel tubing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good work.
If there's no other questions or comments from the board, I would accept a motion to approve these additional changes, pending verification that Heather checks with the Open Division of Government to make sure the vote is appropriate.
You making that motion?
I'm suggesting that you,
I'll make the motion then.
and then I would accept a second. It's okay to second it, and then you would abstain.
So I can second and abstain?
Yes. Because you'll call the Open Division of Government tomorrow to make sure that that vote is appropriate.
Oh, okay. All right, then second and
Okay.
abstain.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Thank you. Becca?
I got that.
And you're going to verify that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if we need to redo it again, the following meeting, I'll...
Yeah, if it's invalid, we'll redo it.
We have an appointment to the Capital Improvement Committee. This has been a committee that has been non-existent for quite a while, and since Heather's been here, she's recruited now the 5th member of the Capital Improvement Committee. So we already have Bill Kalita, Tim Huber, Charlie Knickie, and Roger Ball. And then I would accept a motion to appoint Margaret Larson also to the Capital Improvement Committee.
And then I suggested the other ones just to be clear on their expiration dates, because when we appointed them all at once, we do have a very extensive bylaw on the Capital Improvements Committee. So there are certain people who are supposed to, you know, 2 at this expiration date, 2 at this expiration date, 1 at this expiration date. So I figured if I do it one more time, everyone, I've got it all clear, and no one's been sworn in yet, so we're good to roll.
So do you want a motion,
To do all of them at once, I'd love one.
do you need specific expiration dates stated?
If you just read what's right there, I'd be very happy.
I would accept a motion to appoint Margaret Larson, to appoint the following people to the Capital Improvement Committee. Margaret Larson, whose term would expire in May of 2017. Bill Kalita, whose term would expire in May of 2015. Tim Huber, whose term would expire in May of 2016. Charlie Knickie, whose term would expire in May of 2016. And Roger Ball Jr., whose term would expire in May of 2015.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second for a question.
Sure. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just don't see it on the agenda, so.
It's there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Where?
It's on the My Town Government one. It might not have got scanned in as they,
No, it's not on our
It's not
agenda.
on our agenda.
but it's on the My Town Government. Liz has the
Okay.
official
All right.
I am holding, it's not in your iPad, but I am holding both agendas. And Margaret Larson is on both of them.
Okay.
So as long as it was advertised properly.
It was, but hold on. Mrs. McConnell?
I'm sorry, I was late. I missed the open time for the public. Would there be an opportunity for me to ask a question at some point?
I'll come back, yeah. Is there any other further discussion on the appointment of these members to the Capital Improvement Committee? All those in favor?
Aye.
We have one annual license renewal and outstanding license, a common victuals license for Sheldon's Ice Cream. Is there any reason it was late, Heather, or just?
They don't check their mail during off season, so we had to get a whole mattress.
Hold for ice cream.
Okay.
True story. So I would accept a motion to sign the license for Sheldon's Ice Cream.
Select board.
Again, this is on our town website agenda, because it's not on this one, we're not saying.
It's under annual license renewals.
We just blanket
Do you see
titled these.
6.2
We just
in your?
blanket titled them.
Yeah.
6.2 on your agenda on your iPad?
Shouldn't we have
I
this
can't.
spelled out?
Well, I
so that
can,
people
but
know
what ends up happening with the annual license renewals is I'll get a bunch of them in at one time, but they won't be necessarily, so I might get like 5 or 6 in now before next meeting, and then I'll get 1 or 2 in the Tuesday of the meeting and the Monday of the meeting.
Mhm.
And it holds these people up if I don't put it on the agenda, because maybe they need their license in order to go to a car auction. Maybe they need their license like before in order to sell alcohol for January 1st. By listing all of them, it becomes very cumbersome in the first place because a lot of them have multiple licenses. And the other problem I run into is just the fact, but our understanding of the law requires to put as much information as is anticipated at the time for discussion, and that specifies what's coming out, the annual license renewal.
I guess I'm concerned that if people have questions or concerns about the guy with the used car license and they don't know Joe's car license is coming up, they're not going to be here. And I guess, you can tell me if it's the process, but if somebody doesn't get their license renewal application in time for this meeting, then let them wait till the next meeting. I don't think we should throw the process aside because somebody's later, we don't have time.
I guess I would argue that I would agree with you if the license that we were talking about in particular right now wasn't closed during the time that everything went out. You know, like most of the
What do you mean it was
alcohol permits went
closed?
out, the automobile licenses went out, and all of those have been removed, but Sheldon's isn't open.
So
And so
we're-
they don't check that mail, they had to get a specific address to send that stuff to so that they knew.
Right, I'm not saying anything about Sheldon's, I happen to like Sheldon's, but we should list who's coming up, and if we don't have time to list it because it came in yesterday, we just list it on the next meeting.
But we didn't list we didn't list every single one of the
I-
liquor stores
yeah.
on the last agenda, did we? We didn't list every
But
single,
should we do that, and is there a need to do it?
I don't think it's ever been done in the past. I think it's license renewals, and if you have a concern about someone that has a license and they're gonna be renewing it, you know that it happens once a year and that you should come.
I guess I'm gonna say, I hate to have somebody use the excuse because we haven't done it in the past. Well, I guess the question is, do we need to do it to be fair to the public so that people know?
I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so.
Is there any rule or regulation we can reference?
No. Generally what happens, in my experience, is if folks have complaints about places, we know about them. So if we get a car dealer complaint or whatever, we're gonna hear about the car dealer complaint, it's gonna come in regardless of when the renewal is. And even if they had a complaint on the renewal, it's not going to change the renewal of the license. Unless there's taxes due on the license, you're still gonna have to renew it. The only reason you're gonna be able to revoke the license, you have to have a show cause hearing. So at that point, now you have to put the licensee on the show cause hearing, but you've already issued their license, otherwise you're holding, they're gonna end up suing us in the process because they're gonna say, well, I can't go to the car dealer auction, you're holding up my business because
Could we
someone
issue
complained.
a
but you
license
have
for a
to-
shorter period of time or temporary? I just don't like the process. That's my whole thought here. I think it should be more open.
We can have as listed out as folks want. The thing that we have to remember is we ran into this problem with one-day liquor licenses.
Yeah.
Because we only meet every 2 weeks. So we
Yeah.
ended up having special meeting after special meeting after special meeting because folks wanted to do a one-day liquor license, but they didn't get their materials in time between the meetings. Even when we were meeting weekly, we were still having the problem of we were getting applications for one-day liquor licenses and they weren't coming in when we need to have them in order to put them on for the meeting. Same problem happens with this. When you get to the renewal season though, it's even more dicey because now you're talking, you know, you're waiting on dozens and dozens and dozens of applications to come back. And until you get them back, I mean, you might get them back 3 days before the meeting, 2 days before the meeting, 5 days before the meeting, what have you, but you're holding up their process.
I guess it was Ed had brought up that poor planning on their part is not necessarily an emergency type of on our part. If somebody doesn't know their license is coming up every year and they wait till the last minute, I guess I don't have.
But if you didn't put this on there like this, if you didn't write annual license renewal, leave it blank,
Yeah.
and it happened to come in Friday,
Yeah.
and you post this on Thursday,
They'd have to wait till the next meeting.
but this covers it, so I don't understand what I don't understand, I guess I just.
The issue is the public doesn't know who's coming up, so they don't have an opportunity to be here.
But they could call.
They
They
could.
could call Heather or someone and say, who is on the agenda, if it's not specific.
I don't think it's the residents' duty to call every week saying who's coming up, who's coming up. I think we should publish it, but that's my opinion.
I agree with them. I think we should publish it too, as we receive them. I mean, it would keep us abreast of who's, you know, up to
At
date.
what point do they
and-
stop coming in? Soon? We don't sign these all year
We
long.
still have a few outstanding that are out there. Not many, a handful.
And maybe it would encourage people to get it in sooner
Yeah.
if they get it in 2 weeks before it's due and we say, sorry, you can't have it, one-day liquor renewal or whatever.
It's a good idea.
The common vic license is less important per se than the alcohol or the car dealer license, because if you don't have your car dealer license since January 1st and you're operating your car dealer license, the police department can shut you down.
Yeah.
Same problem with the alcohol license, they're both very problematic.
I just think it's our duty to keep the public as much informed as possible, and I think this takes away from it.
Yeah, I concur. Good
So I don't think we're saying don't approve this one now.
Right.
It's just going forward as food for thought. You agree?
Yes, I agree.
I would accept a motion to sign the common victor's license for Sheldon's Ice Cream.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And John, did you want to have that conversation put on another agenda to talk about again, or?
Yeah, with everybody here might be a good time to do it.
So if you could put that on the next agenda so we can revisit that conversation.
Liz, can we go back real quick to the electrical fees? I know we did plumbing, but we went and grabbed the electrical thing, because there were 2 things that changed.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought we
That's
were
okay.
approving it as one whole piece of paper.
That was gas and plumbing.
Oops.
We have so many.
Is there an electrical change?
There is. I don't have.
Oh, well,
They're all
that's
multiple
why.
copies.
That's why I thought it.
That's only the 2 things that are circled. Thank you.
So I'm just gonna go back up to the approval of the remaining fee changes. I thought we had everything on that one sheet, and it's not. The electrical changes are in a different fee schedule, and you don't have it, John, I'll pass it down. Addition of an alarm in a residential home for $60 and solar for $60.
Oh, it's good that we finally addressed the solar.
Yeah, so that's, doesn't matter how many inspections, it just looks
No.
like one or something.
It's one inspection.
So you want to make an amended,
You can just have you can have a separate motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the electrical fee schedule as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
I'm going to move back up to open time for the public, so Mrs. McConnell can ask the question.
Hi, I'm Jessica McConnell, and I'm for High Street. I have a question concerning the school budget and the town. After listening to a bunch of meetings and going to several between the school committee and here, I understand that we're under our net school spending dollar amount. What I don't understand is how in June, how back when you were prepping the budget for the June town meeting, how they could be asked to cut 6% from their budget if that dollar amount then caused this situation where we're now under net school spending, and then consequently now they're being asked to cut 5% at least for the upcoming budget. At the moment, that may change. But if you, how can you ask them to cut when that brings us below what we're legally supposed to spend and then puts us in a position to get fined. I don't understand how those two things occur.
When the budget is created and net school spending, that number is given, it includes Smith vocational tuition. So in June or September, you assume, say, 20 kids are going to go to Smith Voc. Well, if by November or December those 3 or 4 kids haven't gone, that number comes out of your net school spending. So now you have to make up that dollar amount, which is why we're at the point we are now, because those kids didn't go. Am I pretty close?
Mostly. I guess you asked a couple questions all at once, so let me see what I can do to answer them. So with the net school spending piece, Liz was correct when she started it with, the net school spending, there's the 2 net school spendings. There's the one for the Hampshire Regional School, which is over there, and we're fine. Then there's the net school spending piece, which has to do with the Norris School, Charter School, and also the Smith Vocational School. And she's right, you have one piece of the pie. At the beginning of the year, you're assessed based on the number of students that they believe are going to go. At that
Be
point,
at 100% at that point,
so
assuming they
at
go.
that point, they say our net school spending is $100. But all of a sudden, Smith Vocational, we were originally going to give them $10, and now we only owe them, they're only contributing to about $5 of our net school spending. We have $5 out there. The state does not care that those students are no longer going there. We are still responsible for contributing that $5 worth of net school spending into that pot. They don't care if those kids all of a sudden drop out on day 1, day 2, day 3. Once they've assessed what our net school spending is for that bundle, that's where it is. Yes, logically, I would concur that that money should go over to the other pot, but it doesn't. It stays in that one pot, and that's what holds us accountable. And going back to the cutting piece, the school is not we're not asking the school to cut their budget at this point in time. We're saying, give us some numbers. Tell us where you are. Ultimately, realistically, they're probably going to level service, or at least that's what they're going to propose. We have to hit net school spending. The problem is net school spending is a hard number to catch, because it's not just, we're not just saying we're hitting the number 100 for Norris School. No, we're hitting the number 100, but the 100 contributes, it's contributed by Norris School plus Smith plus Charter. We may know what Charter is, so we're okay, but we don't know what Smith's gonna be. We can guess. Say it's 20 and then we fall short and then we're in trouble again. Say we pick a higher number, and then Norris comes down. It depends on that number, but it's so hard to guess, where you are. Ultimately, yes, you do want to try to be above net school spending, but the problem is we have reality here. We only have so many dollars to distribute out. In the end, what ends up happening is they captured it really well in the Department of Revenue DLS report, which is our 2.5% we go up every year in property taxes, generally goes over to the school budget, mostly Hampshire. And it's not necessarily their fault, it's just because it happens. If you look at their budget, I went to their financial, trying to think what they call it, financial committee, subcommittee meeting. They had Hampshire Regional School last Monday, I believe it was. And, they were talking and they're like, okay, well, even if we say our budget's only going to go up 3 to 5% this year, then you have the allocation of it. So, what is our population? What is our, student population? Did that go up? It always goes up for Southampton. It goes down for other people. So, Southampton's part of the pie? Bigger.
Did they end up deciding that up at the high school we were underrepresented, or did they decide that we were not?
We're going back and forth still with the state on this one, but it looks like as of right now, things are where they were supposed to be for the most part, from what we can tell. Problem is just getting everyone's paperwork where it should be.
I'm just watching Norris, and they're yo-yo budgeting. So they cut, now they're going to bring those people back, but they run the risk of losing them again in September. And I know that in the past, typically, Norris has not used all of their budget, they give it back to the town. They're seriously, this town has always been small, and parents send their kids to school for the most part very well prepared, and that the teachers have gotten used to that. Well, our population is changing a little bit, and now there are more kids who have more needs, and the amount that we've been underspending at Norris is now coming back to bite us as we watch our MCAS scores drop and drop and drop. So I'm just thinking, I know it's all about dollars and cents, but it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back around, and I just don't.
I don't think anyone disagrees with you, Mrs. McConnell.
Okay, so it's not. So you start off in June at one spot, I didn't understand that regional was separate from the other three. I thought each one of the schools was its own.
There's two different groups of net school spending. One is the high school, one encompasses the three other.
How does that get decided?
I was going to say, it may be good to explain to her how that gets decided on the budget, the Hampshire
Well, I
region.
understand where the net school spending number comes in. I know that's being called into play. There's been meetings around the state. You're looking at how they determine that Chapter 70 spending.
Right.
Because the formula is old and maybe not proficient, and maybe the state should be giving more of our tax dollars back that way as well. But, okay. Thank you.
But just remember, if they do adjust the Chapter 70 from the state's end, it's not likely that they're gonna give us more money.
Oh,
It's
I
more
know.
likely that our contribution's gonna go up.
I know. I understand though. I understand. I worked in Easthampton Public Schools for several years, and the department that I worked in was part of the administration, so I heard a lot of stuff about how Chapter 70 works and
Now, do you have somebody at Norris School, a child?
yes, I have 2 children.
Okay, going up, about lunch day, good. Can I talk to her about a minute about Hampshire, how Hampshire works, the Hampshire budget? The Hampshire regional budget is 5 towns?
Yes, I know, and technically the other three of the 5 is that we're
4 of the 5, yeah.
we're
So
studying
every year, that takes more from Norris School, takes more, so,
And the question is, though, they're now getting kids out of
Worthington.
Worthington,
Right.
and they're paying, I know they're
per diem.
some other number.
Yeah.
So that should maybe help, or are they just going to absorb that money too, or nobody?
There's some conversation around that. It should, in theory, help, but I haven't been a part of those conversations, and I'm not sure they've been
Yeah.
completely thought through. But Thursday night is the school committee meeting at 6 o'clock.
I'm going to the Norris one.
Yes.
I've
And
been
so,
to the regional ones a couple of times. And
I think the conversation probably will come up at school committee on Thursday.
They do have a detailed list that I received from the superintendent of some possible proposals of what they'd like to see happen.
So it's a conversation, certainly nothing set in stone. So we don't have any contracts at this time. We don't have any documents requiring signatures. You have the payroll warrants down there
We
and
do.
the bill
We do.
warrants. Do you want some more time to look at those? I can move ahead to
Okay.
section 8 if you want to keep looking at them.
Okay.
We have to approve minutes, so after you're done with that.
I have the minutes here, I've looked at those.
Our next select board meeting, well, today's the 13th, is the 27th in this room. And although I'm always a proponent of meeting at 6 o'clock, I'm hoping the board will say it's okay to go back to 6:30, so I can get a young Evan Moulton to basketball practice before I come. So the 27th at 6:30. Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, the 20th, is our special town meeting in the Norris Cafeteria at 7 o'clock, open to all Southampton citizens and registered voters.
And excuse me, we don't have to be there any earlier?
You don't have to be, well, you know, don't walk in at 7 o'clock when we're saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
No, I know, but sometimes we have a meeting prior to.
We don't have a meeting
it's
prior
not
to,
night.
no.
Okay.
The following, that Thursday, which is the 22nd, we're going to be meeting in the upstairs meeting room with the Personnel Policies and Procedures Board to solely go over the policy book and review it, so please have looked over it. We're going to tackle the small changes first, like punctuation and spelling and that kind of stuff. And then probably, I had spoke with the PQB last week and thought we'll probably need to schedule another working meeting to go over the big ones, like the disability and vacation and that kind of stuff, because those will be more in-depth, longer conversations.
What's the date of that meeting?
It's the 22nd.
The 22nd,
It's actually next Thursday.
upstairs with the
Yeah.
PQB. Tammy?
I would like to add for the special town meeting, the 8.2,
Yeah.
is it at all possible that we can put out on our new improved website what some of the procedures are that are going to happen at this meeting? I noticed when the November 20th Greenway meeting came through, we had a lot of people come from town that had never been to a special meeting at the school. They did not know that they were going to have to give their name and address and get a voting slip, and that they do the Pledge of Allegiance. And that the moderator calls everything to order, and that when you are presenting, you need to speak to him. Could we have a little bit of an outline done out on there so that people have the heads up that, yeah, this is an important meeting, but there are guidelines that we are
guidelines.
following?
Yep, and it might be good to maybe call Robert Floyd, and although he does his general spiel at the beginning, it might not be a bad idea, because even as a selectman, when I went, I wasn't, I always thought it was a board of selectmen meeting, when in fact, it's not. It's not our meeting at all, and so maybe we can put it on the website and talk to Robert before and give a
Well,
brief
there
overview.
is a link to town meetings on the state website that gives you all the information on what a town meeting is, what you can talk about, what you can do, and stuff like that. I think we'll take a look at that first, only because once we start venturing into our own creative world, we start stepping on the, how are we in the legal land here?
You could put something like, do you want to know how a town meeting works, and then link it to that.
Yes.
And that would cover us, and at least then people have
Then
the
they
opportunity.
have the heads up, oh, I need to get there early to find parking, because there's not a lot of parking.
Kind of.
Oh, I'm gonna have to wait in a
don't have-
line
we
and
don't have to
keep
sign
cut
that,
through here just
The
to
thing.
get to
We have to,
the
yeah, we-
cafeteria and sit down.
Great. No, thank you for that suggestion. Certainly would be helpful. Have you all had a chance to look at the payroll warrant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Treasury and the payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the,
School.
For those in the audience, we only need to approve our payroll warrants and bill warrants, and then we're going to move into executive session to talk about collective bargaining. After that, we won't be going back into executive session. We won't be going back into open session.
Are we skipping my meeting layout?
We talked about it during your, oh,
Yes. Okay.
I thought you covered that during your, oh, I know what you're talking about. Where is that?
I don't
So you
know.
have
I just saw it.
15,
5.3-ish.
So one, two.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I
We
think
can
you,
skip it if you like.
Yeah.
it's on the 15, 28.
There we go. So, but I have to be careful. It doesn't say I can't sign it.
You can sign everything, there's just that one sheet. You guys can give me the motions when you're ready, and
Okay, I'll make a motion, we accept warrant 1528, which is the bill warrant,
the dollar amount.
in dollar amount of $201,000, $201,496.69.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I'll do this one.
Can you do that one?
Yeah.
You want me to do it?
Yes.
Okay, make a motion, we accept the payroll warrant P15/29 for $232,319.14.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that everything?
Those are the two, we have the minutes we got to do.
So we have minutes from December 16th. They're all from executive session, under categories 1, 2, 3, and 6. I'm not sure if I have to read all of these or not. So can someone make a motion to approve the executive session minutes from December 16th?
Are we doing just the executive now?
Just the executive session minute.
Make a motion, we approve the executive minutes from December 16th, inclusive of all of them.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
File.
All right. So we're done with this, right? Yeah. We just a couple degrees.
A motion for the regular select board meeting minutes?
A what?
We have the regular select board meeting minutes from
Those are
December.
not on the agenda. Oh, sorry, they are the 16th. You're right.
Okay, so I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes from the regular select board meeting of December 30th at 6 o'clock. This is the 30th.
Then those are not on the agenda.
All right.
Kevin, do you know? We approved the minutes from the executive sessions on December 16th?
I don't think we did any minutes last meeting.
Okay, so
So,
I said,
they're not on here.
At this point, we're going to move into executive session
Can't approve it.
pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, Number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. We will not be going back into open session. I need a roll call vote.
Martin, aye.
Here's a.
Moulton, aye. Thank you, everyone, for coming. It was nice to see you all.
Stay warm.
Good night.